Hey Internet, it's me again, and we're doing another one of these videos. Today we're going to be talking about the Jazzmaster. If you are a master of jazz, or really any other type of genre that you want an offset guitar that Fender makes, or is licensed or whatever, then you probably have a bunch of issues with tuning stability and tremolo stuff. So you're probably looking for a bunch of upgrade parts to make it, you know, moderately playable if you hit the strings more than breathing on them. So the nuts on a Jazzmaster are going to be very straightforward and similar to a Strat and Tele. So the standard ones are going to be a 9.5 inch radius, so that'll be the PQL 5000-00. It works in a curved or flat slot. So if you have a guitar that does have a nut slot that is curved, then you can just sand that little tab off that you see right in the center. Or if it is a flat slot, which is way more common, then you can just leave the nut alone and just maybe do a little fine tuning of the edges and bottom to get the perfect fit. And the nuts are going to be impregnated with Teflon, so they're permanently lubricated to help with tuning stability, so the strings won't bind in the slots when you're tuning up or playing at all. That little annoying pting that you hear when you tune up sometimes, it'll alleviate that issue. Also, it's a lot more resonant, so it's a very small piece of material, but it will help a lot of the vibration transfer to the neck and the headstock and all that. And we also make them in white or black, so that'll be PT for the black one and PQL for the white one. Now, if it's a Jazzmaster that's kind of more vintage spec'd, or like a 60s or something like that, so look at the website of the respective brand that is making your guitar, and they will have in the specs whether it's a 9.5 inch radius or a 7.25 inch radius, which is a more vintage spec. So the curvature of the actual fretboard is going to be 9.5 inches. That's the more common one, and a 7.25 inch is going to be a lot more rounded and is much more akin to the very old guitars, and is a lot less common. But check the specs, and if you do have a guitar that has a 7.25 inch radius, we don't make a pre-slotted nut, but we do have a pre-shaped blank that is 7.25 inch radius on the top and bottom. So you just need to bring that into a local tech, and they would have no problem slotting it. Or you can just look online and find a bunch of videos, and then get some stuff off of Tune-o-matic or Amazon or whatever and do it yourself. So if you got a more modern Jazzmaster that's going to be a little more contemporary, you'll probably have a flatter 12 inch radius. And for something like that, for example, the Jim Root Signature series, a lot of them will have a 12 inch radius. So just look on the specs on the internet and see if it says 12 inches. And if you need that, then we've got the 5042 and the 5043. Really, only difference between those is whether it's 42 millimeters long or 43 millimeters long at the nut. So again, just look on the website of the respective brand that is making the guitar, and it'll just say nut width 42 millimeters or 43 millimeters, and then pick which one matches. Now, as far as the tuners go, they're going to be very similar to the Telecasters and Stratocasters, or really any Fender or Squier kind of guitar. So if you have a Squier guitar and you're looking on the back of the headstock at the tuners, and you just see the block of the tuner with no screws holding it in, then they're going to be using the exact same 2-pin mounting configuration that our tuners use. So any of our 6-in-line tuners on your Squier will be a drop-in replacement. So that's the PRL 8721-C0 for Chrome. Those will be direct drop-in replacement. Locking ratio tuners. Again, the ratio tuners, they're different gear ratio on each string, so that each string reacts the exact same to any tuning adjustments. So it'll be a half turn, half tone on every string, all the way up all of the strings. And for Fender, if you look at the back and you don't see any screws and it's just blocks where the tuners are, then they will have a 2-pin mount, but it's a proprietary 2-pin mount. So you will need a separate set of plates that aren't included in the box, unfortunately, and those will be the PRT 952-201 plates. And then they will adhere to the Fender 2-pin mount that is on those Fender guitars. Now, if you're looking at the tuners on a Fender or Squier guitar and they're using a vintage Clusion style tuner, which means that all the ones in the center are sharing a screw, except for the two outside ones, like these. I forgot that I can overlay pictures and stuff. Like these ones here. If you're looking at that, we don't have a direct workaround for that. You'll still have everything in the box that you'll need. You'll just have to modify a set of the plates that are in the box to get them on there. I had to do it on this one. They had the Clusion style tuners on here, and I wanted them the heck off of my guitar. So I took them off, and then I put our tuners on there because they're like the best things on planet Earth. But yeah, I just modified plates that were in the box, and took me maybe an hour, a little more. Now they're on there, and they fit great, and they've never stopped being incredible. So yeah, get a set of these PRL 8721s. I'm lefty, so mine are left-handed, but yeah, we have them in lefty. And I made a video of that entire process, and you can see it up in the cards right here if I remember at some point, which I might, or I might not. But yeah, click on it there, or just look for Squier GraphTech tuners. I don't remember. And if you look in the back of the headstock, and it's not any of the tuners that I just mentioned, and a more regular or common set with a screw off to the side or two in a corner, then all of our tuners come with 4 different sets of mounting plates for free in the box, and they will adhere to that screw positioning, so you can get the best tuners in the world on your best guitar in the world on what? Hi, how are you? It's very late. I'm tired. My girlfriend started work again, and she's working night shift today, which means I also am too. So today's episode is brought to you in part by unbranded energy drinks. They're pink and full of sugar. Is it? Avec sucrose. There's a ton of sugar. Of course there is. Anyway, now we've got nighttime videos. Also, it's really quiet, which is good for audio and stuff. Anyway, what are we talking about next? Saddles. One thing that Jazzmasters are synonymous for is having, how shall I put it, finicky bridges. Because they were invented in the 20s or something. I mean, they weren't. They're invented in the, what, 60s, 50s? I don't know, when there was the, 3-year period where most of the cool guitars that exist now were invented in that year. So, if you have a Jazzmaster and you're wanting it to stay in tune, we have parts that'll make it possible for you to even use the tremolo. That's right, I said it, internet. You can use a tremolo on a Jazzmaster and it'll stay in tune, or at least go back into tune when you push it out of tune, because that's the whole premise of the tremolo bar. I don't know. Anyway, so let's get one of them out of the way. If they have a Tune-o-matic bridge, or a Jazmatic, I think is what Fender calls them, because Tune-o-matic's probably copywritten by Big Brother G over here. So, yes, if it has an Adjustomatic or a Tune-o-matic style bridge, or a G-style bridge, I don't know what you want to call it. Anyway, if it has a Tune-o-matic style bridge, the posts that the bridges sit on are like a couple millimeters narrower than what is standard for Tune-o-matic bridges. So, unfortunately, without actual modification to the bridge or posts, our Resmax bridges won't fit on there. They can be made to work. You've got like access to a machine shop or something like that, go nuts. You can re-drill them out, and because they have the magnetic locking system, they will fasten on there and they won't fall off when it's not strung up. So if you are willing to do that, go nuts. Obviously, we're not responsible for any damages or if you mess it up or whatever. Anyway, if you look on the underside of the bridge, on any bridge, and you see a factory stamp, so when you take the bridge off, you look under it. It'll say some things. If you go over to the website that I linked in the description, we have a list or a table that will show you which corresponding saddles you need for which corresponding stamp. And each one of those factory stamps dictates what factory it was made from, because most companies will even source hardware from different factories, and there's slight different variations in sizes, and it's a whole to-do. Anyway, Fender, I think, uses only a couple. They use a TS-1, I think. There's a couple different ones. You can either get in touch with us or head over to that table that I linked right down there. So if you want to replace the saddles on a Tune-o-matic or a Jazmatic bridge, it is possible. So that's a Jazmatic bridges out of the way. Now, for the other style bridges, there's 2.5 different types that are on Jazzmasters. There's the Jazzmaster / Mustang bridge, which is the 6-barrel saddles, and the saddles look like just big screws that they just cut. You can actually see threading on them. They go all the way down, then they've got this! I keep forgetting I can overlay images. This bridge, these saddles, if you have one of those Jazzmaster, Mustang, or Jaguar bridges with those types of saddles, then the PS8108 saddles will be a drop-in replacement for that. There's a slight variation that doesn't have the screw-looking saddles and has more barrel-looking saddles. Actually, they're very similar aesthetically to our saddles, or rather, the other way around. Ours are aesthetically similar to those saddles. If it has those types of saddles, then you're good. If you look at the intonation screw and it's going directly under where the string goes, then our saddles, the PS8108s, will be a drop-in replacement. If you look at it, and there is another couple different types of bridges that you might find on there. One is a stay trim bridge, or a stay trim style bridge. If the screw is off to one side, then our saddles unfortunately will not work on those bridges. Also, if you are looking at it and it looks like a couple of TIE bombers from Star Wars, those are mastery bridges, and unfortunately we don't make saddles for them specifically. So yeah, those are all the parts you need for your Fender or Squier or Harley Benton Jazzmaster, or I don't know if you have. Oh, there's other ones. There are a couple ones that use Strat style bridges because they were like, I don't want to mess around with just a hunk of metal and a bunch of barrels. I don't know why they would decide to go with a more proven effective bridge, but they did. Anyway, so if you have one of those Jazzmasters with a Strat style bridge where you see the 6-block saddles like this, then the PS8000-00 saddles will be a direct drop-in replacement. Or if you want the String Saver Classics, which are a metal saddle with the String Saver insert, so they keep the bite of a metal saddle, and then they are less warm and less resonant, but it still will drastically reduce the amount of string breakage you find. you have on that guitar. Again, very late and very tired. It's gonna be okay. So yeah, if you want that, then that's the PG 8000-0C for chrome, or 0B for black. But anyway, those are all the parts you would need. All right, string trees. Damn it. Okay. If you want string trees in the material, we have the PQL 7004s. Okay. Goodbye, internet. If you have questions, leave them right down there. If you could suggest guitar series or guitars that you have, leave them in the comments, and someone will get to you as soon as possible. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. That's okay, just let us know. And there's a subscribe button there, and there's also a bell. You can hit it. And there's, yeah, that's it. I think I already used all of the, I can't put any more cards in the video. Anyway, all the parts I mentioned are in the description, so if you are like, oh man, that part would be awesome on that guitar, you could go buy it. So anyway, see you next week. Party hard. It's time for bed.